All right, hello everyone and welcome back. This is module 5 of the wholesaling class, and in this module we're going to be discussing deal analysis. Now, the one thing that we've already covered when it comes to deal analysis is how to do the math. We covered that in module 3. So to review any of the math behind analyzing a property, go back to module 3. Also a great resource for that is the off-market deals on tap class. We go even deeper into the math of analyzing a property. But in this, we're going to talk about a few other key elements in analyzing a deal. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, before we get too far down the road, as usual, you're probably used to this by now. At the beginning of every module, I got to give you a disclosure. I'm not a licensed attorney, accountant, financial advisor, real estate broker, real estate agent, or any other licensed individual. I am just a student, just like you, and I've had a lot of success with the strategies that I'm sharing with you now. I want you to take those strategies and go have as much success as you can have with them. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, important to wholesaling, important to any element of real estate investing is the negotiations. Your knowledge of the real estate purchase contract will help you negotiate properties. Now, the real estate purchase contract is something I go into great detail in one of the modules in the off-market deals on tap. So rather than taking a whole lot of your time here to rehash things we've already talked about, just go check out that class. You can get all sorts of information on the REPC and how it applies in different states and in the different areas you're in. But what I want to talk about here in regards to that is, if the more familiar you are with the real estate contract that you're using, the more leverage that you have to negotiate properties. Your knowledge of it will help you create solutions to problems that come up as you're going through the negotiation problem. And we're going to talk about the different objections that sellers have and the different objections that buyers have later on in a later module. But those are real things, and those are things that you're going to have to face in almost every deal that you do. So having a good understanding of that contract will help you negotiate properties. Identify the seller's problems and help them solve those problems. So if you know your seller is going through a divorce, keep that in mind as you're negotiating, and come up with creative solutions to help them with that problem, and make it a more valuable transaction, to help your case in purchasing their property. And that applies not just to divorce, but foreclosure, bankruptcy, I mean, you name it. We use those different areas where people are struggling in order to generate leads to find deals and to find motivated sellers. So use your knowledge of those problems they have to help them solve those problems, and that creates more value for them, which creates a higher likelihood that you're going to get that contract. As a wholesaler, your knowledge around multiple strategies will help you close deals. So you're going to have buyers that are interested in purchasing properties to do fix and flips on. You're going to have buyers that are interested in purchasing properties as rentals and Airbnbs, and every type of real estate investing strategy there is. So the more familiar you can be with those different types of strategies, the more likely you'll be able to close a deal. If you can come at a specific deal, being able to look at it through multiple lenses, not just say the lens of, a fix and flip, but rather the lens of a fix and flip and as a rental and as an Airbnb and as a lease option and all of these other strategies, you're going to be more likely to be able to close those deals, because maybe the numbers don't work on a fix and flip for the seller, so they're not willing to accept your offer. But the numbers look different if it's a rental, so maybe that might be more appealing to them, and you may be able to flip that wholesale to your buyers that are looking for rentals. Remember the rule here: your price, my terms; my price, your terms. When you're negotiating with sellers, that's a very important thing. So if you can get it to the price that they want, then remember that they got their price, so you should get your terms. I use this a lot. I'll just use the example of rental properties. If I'm going to come in and buy a rental property cash, I want a better deal on it, because if I'm going to put that much cash into a single property, I want to get my price, right? So they want cash. Obviously, they want to be cashed out. So their terms, my price, right? But if they have a specific price that they need to get to, and that's not something that necessarily, is going to work on a cash basis. Maybe you can say, okay, well, I'll give you that price that you're asking for if we can structure it as a seller finance and I just make your payments. I can give you that price and I will just keep making that payment until we hit that price. So it gives you the leverage to be able to say, all right, what do you need, seller? And they may say, what I really need is cash. All right, well, that's a term, so here's my price and I'll give you cash, right? Or they may say, I really need to get, $200,000 for this house. All right, your price. So my terms, I'll give you your price, but these are going to be my terms to get to that price. So it really gives you that leverage to be able to be creative and go out and apply all of the different strategies that you're learning in your education suite to be able to acquire more properties. So remember that, your price, my terms, my price, your terms. Now, let's talk about determining the best use of properties. We've touched on this lightly so far, but let's dive a little bit deeper here. It's all about the numbers. We talked about in Module 3, we talked about the math. Always run your quick analysis for a flip or a rental, short-term or long-term, because that's going to tell you what your purchase price needs to be. And when you're negotiating with the seller, that's what it comes down to, right? Is what are we going to be able to purchase this for and how are we going to do it? So price and terms, like we talked about on the last slide. Know your buyers. Like I've said, I keep a buyer's list on a spreadsheet that has their name, their contact information, what they're looking for, whether they're looking for fix and flips or rentals, what price range they like working in, what geographic area they like working in, whether they've got money lenders already lined up or if they need help with that, whether they've got relationship with contractors or not, whether they need help with that, what their minimum profit is, whether that's on a rental, it'd be cash flow, on a flip, it'd be, the profit at the end of the deal. The more information I can collect about my buyers, the more that helps me to tailor a deal in my negotiations process to those particular buyers. So have your buyers list handy, know it well, know your buyers. And when you start approaching deals, you can start tailoring your negotiations to those certain buyers that are looking for a deal in that area or in that price range, etc. And then use professionals, use appraisers, home inspectors, real estate agents, title companies. You're going to need relationships with all of those people. Now, I will say appraisers, remember, and I've said this in the off-market deals on tap class, you don't need to get an appraisal on a deal you're buying, because the number that the seller has in mind doesn't matter. The number that the appraiser says that it's worth in its current condition does not matter. What matters is your math. Is this property going to check out in the numbers? If it does, great, it's a deal. If it doesn't, then we move on, right? So what dictates the purchase price is your math and nothing else. Not an appraisal, not their asking price. Those things don't matter when we're purchasing. The math matters. So keep that in mind. So that just covers a few more kind of loose ends that I had about deal analysis. Section or module 3, module 4 really kind of covered that same spectrum of analyzing a deal as we're going through it. So this kind of ties up those loose ends. Hopefully you have a good understanding of how to analyze deals. And like I said, with our sister class, off-market deals on tap, you're going to want to use that because that goes into a little bit more detail as well. My goal here in these last few modules has just been to take that information that you've already learned in that class and apply it to the concept of wholesaling. So that concludes module 5. Next, we're going to be going into module 6, which is control of the property. We're going to talk about your legal control of the property and what rights that gives you when it comes to wholesaling. So I will see you guys in module 6.